Hello and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to another session of Indian Economy Essentials. And in today's session, let's understand what is the reason why Government of India has announced imposition of Prevention of Money Laundering Act, in short PMLA provisions on the cryptos or virtual digital assets. But before that, here is a very important announcement. Starting today, the second phase of Target Prelims 2023 will be launched, and today there will be the discussion of various important topics from the Indian polity for preliminary examination, which will be conducted by Sarmat sir. The first session will be there on the YouTube as well as on the app live. But from the next session, starting from tomorrow, all the sessions will be conducted live on the app. So for this, all you need to do is download the app. Now with this caveat, let's start the discussion. Today morning, as soon as you open the newspaper or you started looking at the newspaper, in the Hindu, in the front page itself, this article was published. Money laundering laws will now cover cryptocurrency trade. Now some of you might have read without realizing what is the importance of the article. Some would have read without realizing or without understanding anything from the article. Let's understand the concept here. First thing first, there is this idea for virtual digital assets, VDA, virtual digital assets. Government of India, under the Income Tax Act of 1961, IT Act of 1961, Section 247, Section 2, within that subsection 47, has defined what is a virtual digital asset. In simple terms, remember this, it's a very broader definition. In simple terms, any, let's say, number, any token, any information, etc., which is derived from cryptographic means and has certain value will be referred to as a virtual digital asset. Example of this is, best example, Bitcoins or cryptocurrencies, or even for that matter NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Now there is a concern that the virtual digital assets can be used for money laundering purposes. Now many of you will be concerned about the term money laundering here. What is the idea for money laundering? A person has generated lot of black money. The black money in simple terms is the money on which the tax has been evaded to the government. This black money could be generated using, let's say, the legal sources or illegal sources, but essentially the person has not paid the amount of taxes to the government. For example, imagine a person has sold an asset to somebody else in the market, and when the government is supposed to, or government is asking for the information to impose taxes on the value of the asset, the person will report the value at a lower level. For example, property sales. I have sold it, let's say, at 1 crore rupees, just a hypothetical example here. But when I am supposed to pay the taxes to the government, I will report the value to be, let's say, 20 lakh rupees. That is basically generating lot of black money in the market. And what about illegal methodologies? Illegal methodologies such as drug sales or human trafficking, etc., etc. So, lot of these methods have been utilized to generate black money in the market. Now, the methodology that you use to convert this black money into white money, I repeat, the methodology that you use to convert this black money into white money, it is called as a laundering. That is basically you are cleaning the money from black to white. This is called as money laundering. And Government of India over a period of time has implemented a lot of reforms to address this issue of money laundering. The important reform in the context of addressing the issue of black money is the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, PMLA 2002. This PMLA was implemented by the earlier government, and over a period of time, various governments have implemented amendments or have introduced amendments under Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now, what is the concern? Why is that PMLA laws will now be applicable to VDA? In the last couple of months, I am pretty sure you must have read articles wherein many of these companies or entities which are involved in the cryptocurrencies, they have been hauled up, they have been investigated by the Enforcement Directorate, and in many of the cases there are certain allegations of using the money laundering process to convert the black money into white money. Now some of you might be thinking, sir, is it possible? Using cryptos, is it possible to launder money? Of course, yes. There are various tools which are used by the people in the system wherein P2P transfers have been done, unregulated, the markets have been utilized, various other tools such as smurfing have been utilized, wherein black money has been converted into white, that is, money has been laundered even in the crypto markets. Now, being worried about this, although we do not have a regulator regarding the cryptocurrencies, point number one, and second, we do not have only one law which will cover all the aspects of cryptocurrencies or virtual digital assets. Government being concerned over the misuse or potential misuse of the VDS now says, I will apply the PMLA provisions to the virtual digital assets. That is, what are the important points here? Point number one, anybody who is involved in the dealing of VDS now will become part of provisions under PMLA. Meaning what? A crypto exchange is there. Any entity that is associated with conversion of fiat money into cryptos or cryptos into fiat money, any other entity which is related to management of the cryptos, etc., etc., etc. All of them now will come under the concept of PMLA. And these entities, I repeat, these entities now will have to follow certain guidelines. For example, one, all the customers who are being covered or who are being provided with the services by these entities, right? I repeat, these entities will have to conduct the KYC for all of these customers. KYC simply stands for Know Your Customer or Know Your Client. Sir, what do you mean by KYC here? For example, you go to a bank, you want to open a bank account. Don't you think the bank will ask you for a lot of documentation? For example, they will ask you for identification proof. They will ask you for address proof to ascertain what is your identity. So in the same way, any of these customers who are being provided with the services or by all these regulated entities now, they will have to conduct a KYC for all of these customers. Point one. Point number two, whenever transactions are going to be conducted, whenever these entities are going to facilitate conducting transactions like this, they will have to keep a record of all of these transactions. As per the law, they are supposed to keep the record for at least 5 years. And moreover, especially those cash transactions which are beyond a certain threshold level, now they will have to keep record for all of them. Suspicious activity, any transaction which is suspicious now, these entities will now have to report it to the Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU India, FIU IND. They will have to report all of these suspicious transactions. Is it the first time that any entity or any financial institution has been imposed with such conditions? Absolutely no. For example, even today, banking sector, they are supposed to follow all of these guidelines so that the money laundering will be prohibited, will be controlled. So these are some of the provisions which now will be applicable to all the entities which are associated with VDA. Now beyond this, what are the important points related to the exams? The PMLA will be enforced, or the agency which will implement, which is the administrative authority for Prevention of Money Laundering Act, is the Enforcement Directorate. Remember this. It is the Enforcement Directorate. The ED, apart from implementing PMLA, will also implement FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. In fact, it earlier used to implement FERA. Now FERA has been replaced with FEMA. In addition to PMLA, FEMA, there is one more law, that is Fugitive Economic Offenders Act, FEOA. So the administrative agency which is going to implement the provisions regarding PMLA, FEMA and FEOA will be the Enforcement Directorate. and Enforcement Directorate was established back in 1956 and functions under Ministry of Finance. It functions under Ministry of Finance. Now, in the context of PMLA, if anybody is found to be violating or has done any activity in contravention to the PMLA provisions, then first a case will be filed. Only then the Enforcement Directorate will take up the case, investigate, and if found guilty, there is a jail punishment of at least 3 years, which is extendable. Beyond 3 years also it is extendable. In addition to the jail sentence, there could be a cash penalty, that is a financial imposition of penalties can also be done. Apart from this, under PMLA, if there is any asset, I hope you understand, if there is any asset which is attached by the Enforcement Directorate, then even this asset can be confiscated if found guilty. So these are certain very important points regarding why the application of PMLA on the virtual digital assets becomes important, or let's say necessary, by the government. In fact, this is not the first reform by the government or the first measure by the government to control or let's say to regulate VDS. Last year, Government of India in the month of April announced 30% tax on the cryptocurrency transactions, then imposed 1% TDS on the crypto transactions, etc. So over a period of time, government has been implementing various measures in order to control or regulate the virtual digital assets. But having said so, again I'll repeat it, even today we do not have any regulating agency for VDA, as well as we do not have any law regarding VDS. And the Government of India already has a proposal, but it is basically sitting on it, saying that first we want to have a global consensus. First, let's have a global consensus, and if you know already that there is a discussion about regulating these cryptos at G20 level. So once there is a global consensus that is built over the regulation, it is expected that the government will bring in the law to regulate all of these cryptos or VDS in the domestic market. So these are the various important points I wanted to discuss regarding this announcement of the government. If you like these initiatives, please hit the like button. Provide your valuable comments in the section below. And if you yet to subscribe to Byju's Exam Prep IAS, kindly do it now. Thank you. Have a great day.